Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. You know, just the other day, we were hearing that it's live events that are going to save streaming because, hey, profitability requires something to work, and you've seen Disney Plus going the wrong direction. You've seen other streamers not exactly generating a ton of cash, but Peacock has a real problem, and we need to talk about it. It could go bankrupt. So, here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder, I'm trying to get to 50K, which means please double check down below and make sure you're still subscribed. If not, if this is your first time here, thank you for showing up. If this is your 1000th, I hope you've already clicked on this button and then you just got accidentally unsubscribed. So turn the little red subscribe button to gray, and then turn on the notification bell and add all notifications. That way you don't miss anything, because I do dozens of pieces of content each and every week, whether it be a live stream, a video, or just a post that will make you laugh. Let's make sure you're still here. So let's go on. We've got this story, and look, Peacock's mounting losses could reportedly push Comcast towards merger or acquisition. This is 100% true. They know they have to buy or sell, and CEO Brian Roberts has never been a seller. Now, that's a quote from a former executive that used to work inside the company and has a very good insight into Brian Roberts. Brian Roberts is a notoriously no fan of Iger, and his company at Universal is beating the mouse down the street in Florida, which is bad for Disney, but good for Comcast investors. What's not good for Comcast investors is Peacock. So, Sean Keeley over at Awful Announcing writes on the 13th that Peacock is currently riding high on Olympics coverage.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think.
As NBC Universal leans on its streaming service to carry the bulk of the broadcasting from the 2026 Milan Cortina Games. Now, that makes an awful lot of sense. This is something that is being broadcast at odd times. Streaming services are better at time shifting. This is something that they're doing well, and they've done previously in previous games, and they've also done those well. The streamer is bound to see an uptick in subscribers from the international competition. However, it's been down this road several times now, seeing bumps from Notre Dame football, WWE events, NFL playoff games, and of course the Super Bowl. So far, those bumps haven't added up to profitability. And look, it's like I said, it's not just a Comcast/Peacock problem. It actually includes all of the streaming companies with the exception of Netflix. Netflix has been doing it for so very long that they converted an existing fan base with physical media that they could rent to a streaming service that, well, they have to subscribe to. And that subscription model for them worked very well, especially with other people's material, which, believe it or not, Universal was a big part of. So, in late 2024, Comcast, which owns NBC Universal, said it would, in the wake of substantial losses, begin exploring partnerships for Peacock. Last month, NBCU announced that the streamer lost $552 million during Q4 of 2025. That's a 48% increase compared to the streamer's losses in Q4 of 2024. While that was expected on the heels of its new 11-year deal with the NBA, which, by the way, sports rights probably aren't the path forward for anybody these days because live events may not lift an audience anymore. Guess who's finding that out? Amazon and a few others out there. I think Yahoo tried this experience years ago, and what did that get them? Not very much. Peacock has seen solid subscription growth and profit gains, up 23% year over year in Q4. The losses continue to mount in the midst of an arms race against Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu, Apple TV, and others. In other words, it's a packed field, and it has been for a long time. Nobody's really differentiated themselves with the exception of Netflix. And Amazon has got such a muddled model. I don't think that they were thinking clearly when they went out to go get football, because the last thing you want to do is watch that on a streaming device and be forced into a commercial cycle, which I believe most of the people that were watching the games before created for themselves with set-top boxes and other devices that allowed them to pause before it got to a commercial, go to the bathroom, get a snack, come back, and breeze right through what the commercial spots were. And there are many other ways to time shift games and many different types of coverage. In fact, a lot of people really liked the satellite products that were out there, so some of these streamers are going out to get those, including the NFL Directly with Disney as now a partner with ESPN. This is getting weirder and weirder all the time. So according to Brian Lowry at Status, it might soon be time for Comcast to consider next steps instead of waiting around for Peacock to become profitable. In speaking with several former executives and current employees, Lowry says it doesn't appear that there is a solid strategy to address the streamer's financial situation, and the next step might be for the company to consider a merger or joint venture. Now, none of this is surprising. We've been hearing rumors and rumbles that it's possible that Peacock could descend into bankruptcy. One of the chess moves that happened not that long ago was the spin-off of all the failing cable channels and entities that were leading to, well, bad PR and bad earnings. So we end up with Versant, which is how we ended up with PMS Now becoming part of that entity and watching the stock tank from day one. Kind of a fun time. And I did cover it here on this channel just a few days ago, but you can check that out for yourself. It's a good watch. Anyway, they know they have to buy or sell. And CEO Brian Roberts has never been a seller. That's Lowry being told by a former executive who also described Peacock as the studio's problem child. And that makes sense because for all of these studios, they launched unnecessary products to compete with each other and their own business, hence cutting their legs off to spite their feet. I don't know, but it's pretty ugly and it's been a bloodbath as far as content is concerned. And it's also kind of destroyed Hollywood. So this has been a no-win situation from the word go. Lowry says some potential targets could include Paramount. Of course, right now they're in the midst of a takeover attempt with Warner Brothers Discovery. While Paramount Plus has been a winner for the company, it's dwarfed in size by Comcast, of course, which could take over and combine efforts for a bigger player in the streaming wars. But let me tell you, Hollywood and you and I really probably don't want that. Not at all. We want no part of it. In fact, we want more of an array in the menu than we want a limited menu. And I'm tired of prefix menus, aren't you? Pass that on to Disney. Anyway, another former NBCU employee said that if Netflix somehow loses its Warner Brothers Discovery bid to Paramount, which to me is the most likely outcome, I mean, I've been talking about that for quite some time, and I'm not alone. If you watch other analysts here on YouTube, you're starting to see a pattern. People don't think Netflix can carry this deal off, kind of in part because of a terrible performance by Ted Sarandos in the Senate Judiciary Committee. At least they're considering an antitrust issue with Netflix owning a giant chunk of the studio material and the fact that they literally could kill theatrical releases to the tune of about 1/3 of all movies. That's bad. And again, if Netflix somehow loses its Warner Brothers Discovery bid to Paramount, it could turn its attention to Comcast either as an acquisition or a partnership. And I don't think a partnership would harm either of them, but it would certainly diminish the value of Peacock. Why would you need Peacock if you're in partnership with Netflix? Netflix doesn't need you for those purposes. It needs you for your content, for your IPs, for the things that you control. And to be fair, Comcast doesn't really need anything from Netflix because they don't really produce any kind of great material. It's very few and far between as far as shows go, or even the occasional film for that matter. Comcast's public reputation presumes that they'll stay the course for as long as they can while everyone else reshuffles the deck chairs, especially on this particular version of the Titanic. But if the NBA rights deal fails to deliver returns, which at the rate they're paying, probably will, and if the Olympics can't move the needle or improve the bottom line, then it doesn't sound like there are many other ways forward on Peacock's projected path other than the white whale that is the NFL. And you know what? That's not one that I think that they can harpoon. I think the NFL is far too valuable, and you've got to stay the course if you're NBC on the broadcast games that you do manage to hang on to. You kind of put yourself in a bad position under previous leadership over at NBC and didn't exactly acquire the rights you should have had for all of the games that went to these other streaming services. Regardless, do you think it's possible that Comcast could allow Peacock to venture down the path of bankruptcy? do you think they could kill the whole thing altogether? Do you think Comcast is more likely to partner up with another studio if they can find one, like, let's say, AMC, or grab the streaming service Stars? Or do you think they're more likely to be a seller for the first time in Brian Roberts' history? Your guess is as good as mine, so let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up button at this point, please do so now. I would truly appreciate it. And if you want to extra boost this video, not only do you need to leave a comment below, but follow up by watching another video on my channel, preferably one from, well, today or yesterday. It'd be really helpful. On that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya. But probably not watching Peacock.